The rain poured down on Maxwell Reed's expensive Italian suit as he collapsed to his knees before the marble headstone. His security detail kept their distance, black umbrellas forming a perimeter around the cemetery plot. No one noticed the woman in the black veil standing beneath a distant oak tree, her hand pressed against her mouth to stifle her sobs as she watched the man she loved mourn her death, a death she had carefully staged. But why would Olivia Reed, wife of one of America's wealthiest tech moguls, fake her own death? And what would happen when Maxwell discovered the truth about the empty casket 6 feet below? Maxwell placed a single white rose on the wet grass. "I should have listened to you, Liv," he whispered, his voice breaking. "You tried to warn me about them, and now you're gone." 3 months earlier, Maxwell and Olivia had been living the dream. His company, Quantum Tech, had just gone public with a valuation of $18 billion. Their penthouse overlooked Central Park, and their faces graced the covers of business magazines. But behind closed doors, their marriage was crumbling under the weight of Maxwell's obsession with work and the dangerous company he'd begun keeping. "You've changed, Max," Olivia had said during their last real conversation. "These new investors, they're not who you think they are." "Don't be ridiculous," he'd snapped. "This is business. You wouldn't understand." The next day, Olivia's car was found submerged in the Hudson River. Her body was never recovered, but blood matching her type was found on the driver's seat. The police ruled it a suicide after finding her handwritten note, "I can't live with what I know." What Maxwell didn't know was that Olivia had discovered evidence that his new business partners were using Quantum Tech's revolutionary encryption technology to facilitate international money laundering for a dangerous cartel. When she confronted one of the board members with proof, she received a simple text message, "Accidents happen to nosy wives." That night, with the help of her college friend who now worked for the FBI, Olivia disappeared. Her death would protect her until they could build a case, and perhaps save Maxwell from the dangerous web he'd unwittingly entered. Standing in the rain now, Olivia's heart ached watching Maxwell's shoulders shake with sobs. She'd never seen him cry before, not even at his parents' funeral. The man who prided himself on emotional control was completely broken. "I found your research, Liv," Maxwell said to the headstone. "The encrypted files on your cloud drive. I know why they wanted you gone." Olivia froze. This wasn't part of the plan. Maxwell wasn't supposed to discover anything until the FBI had enough evidence to make arrests. "I'm cleaning house tomorrow," he continued, unaware that his words were reaching his very much alive wife. "The board meeting is at noon. I'm bringing everything, the offshore accounts, the shell companies, all of it. They think I'm clueless, just some tech nerd who got lucky. They're about to find out what happens when they take something I love." Olivia stepped forward involuntarily. He was going to get himself killed. The cartel wouldn't allow their operation to be exposed. She had to stop him, but revealing herself now would put them both in danger. As Maxwell stood to leave, he placed his hand on top of the headstone. "I know you probably can't hear me, but if there's any way you're out there. I'm sorry I didn't believe you. And I'm going to make this right, even if it's the last thing I do." The last thing he would do. Those words echoed in Olivia's mind as she watched him walk away, flanked by security guards who had no idea the real threat came from inside Maxwell's own company. She had until noon tomorrow to save the man she loved, the man who finally understood the truth, but still didn't know the biggest truth of all, that she was alive, and closer than he could possibly imagine. That night, as Maxwell sat alone in their penthouse reviewing documents, he felt a strange sensation, like he wasn't alone. He looked up, half expecting to see Olivia standing in the doorway as she used to when working late. The emptiness that greeted him was almost physical in its pain. "I'm losing my mind," he muttered, reaching for the glass of bourbon on his desk. What he didn't know was that Olivia was indeed in the apartment, hidden in the secret panic room they'd installed years ago. She'd entered using the private elevator code that hadn't been changed since her death. Now, she watched him through the hidden camera system, her heart breaking as she saw the toll her absence had taken. His once immaculate appearance had given way to a 3-day stubble. The confident posture had been replaced by the slumped shoulders of a defeated man. But in his eyes, she saw something new, determination. As dawn broke over Manhattan, Olivia made her decision. The FBI operation would have to adapt. She couldn't let Maxwell walk into that board meeting alone. Not when she knew what these people were capable of. She picked up the secure phone her FBI handler had given her and made the call that would change everything. "It's time," she said simply. "He knows." The response was immediate, "Stay put. We're not ready." "I don't care if you're ready," Olivia replied, watching Maxwell through the monitor as he loaded documents into his briefcase. "My husband is about to walk into a room full of killers. Either you move now, or I'm going in alone." The silence on the other end told her everything she needed to know. As Maxwell's town car pulled away from the building, Olivia emerged from hiding. She had exactly 3 hours to save the man she loved, the man who still believed he was a widower. Sometimes, the dead do return. And sometimes, they bring justice with them. Olivia slipped into the black Audi parked 3 blocks from their penthouse. Agent Daniels, her FBI handler, sat behind the wheel, his expression grim. "This is a mistake," he said, pulling into traffic. "We've been building this case for months. You could compromise everything. They're going to kill him, Mark." Olivia's voice was steady despite the fear coursing through her. "You know what the Morales cartel does to people who threaten their operations." Daniel sighed, navigating through the morning Manhattan traffic. "We have a team en route, but they won't be in position until 11:30. That's cutting it close." "Too close," Olivia muttered, checking the Glock 19 Daniels had reluctantly provided. The weight of it felt foreign in her hands. Before all this, the closest she'd come to violence was the Krav Maga classes she'd taken after college. "The plan was to keep you hidden until we had enough to take down the entire network," Daniels reminded her. "If you show up now—" "I know the risks," she interrupted. "But Max found my research. That means he has evidence that could expose them. They won't let him leave that room alive." Daniels couldn't argue with that logic. The Morales cartel had infiltrated quantum tech through a series of shell companies and proxy investors. Their leader, Victor Morales, had personally taken an interest in Maxwell's encryption technology that could make their international transactions untraceable. "You still love him," Daniels observed, glancing at Olivia's reflection in the rearview mirror. "Even after everything." Olivia stared out the window at the city rushing by. "He made mistakes. So did I. But he didn't deserve to have his life destroyed." Her mind drifted back to their last anniversary, 6 months before her death. Maxwell had surprised her with a weekend in Paris. For 3 days, he'd been the man she'd fallen in love with, attentive, passionate, present. They'd walked along the Seine at midnight, made love in their hotel suite overlooking the Eiffel Tower, and promised each other that things would be different. Then they'd returned to New York, and within days, Maxwell was back to 18-hour workdays and midnight conference calls. The new investors had demanded his complete attention, and he'd given it willingly, blind to the danger they represented. "We're here," Daniels announced, pulling up across from the gleaming quantum tech headquarters. "Remember, our team moves in at 11:30. Your job is to delay the meeting, not confront anyone." Olivia nodded, her eyes fixed on the building's revolving doors. Somewhere inside, Maxwell was preparing to confront killers. "If anything happens to him before your team arrives," she said quietly, "I'll never forgive you." Daniels met her gaze. "And if anything happens to you, I'll never forgive myself. Be careful, Liv." She slipped out of the car, adjusting her wig and sunglasses. The disguise wouldn't fool anyone who knew her well, but it might buy her enough time to reach Maxwell. Inside the lobby, Olivia bypassed the main security desk, heading instead for the service elevator that required no keycard. She'd memorized the building's layout during the months of planning her disappearance. Now, that knowledge might save Maxwell's life. Meanwhile, on the 42nd floor, Maxwell stood at his office window, gazing down at the city that had once represented everything he'd wanted. Now, it all seemed hollow. Without Olivia, success meant nothing. He checked his watch, 10:45 a.m. The board would be gathering now in the conference room. Victor Morales, the charming Chilean investor who'd promised to take quantum tech global, would be sitting at the head of the table, probably making jokes and offering expensive cigars. Maxwell had trusted him completely, until he found Olivia's hidden files. The evidence was damning. Quantum Tech's encryption algorithms were being used to hide billions in cartel money. Worse, there were emails suggesting Morales had ordered Olivia's accident when she'd gotten too close to the truth. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. His assistant, Jenny, poked her head in. "Mr. Morales is asking if you'd like to join them early for coffee before the meeting starts." Maxwell forced a smile. "Tell him I'll be there at noon, as scheduled. I have some calls to finish." After Jenny left, Maxwell opened his safe and removed the flash drive containing all of Olivia's research, plus his own findings. He'd made copies, of course. One was with his lawyer, another in a safety deposit box. If anything happened to him today, the evidence wouldn't die with him. He slipped the drive into his pocket and picked up a framed photo from his desk, him and Olivia on their wedding day, both laughing as they fed each other cake. He traced her face with his finger. "I'll make this right, Liv," he whispered. "I promise." In the service corridor 2 floors below, Olivia moved quickly, her heart pounding. She'd just received a text from Daniels. Morales brought extra security. At least 4 armed men in the building. Team ETA still 11:30. She checked her watch, 11:05. Less than 30 minutes to reach Maxwell before the FBI team arrived. She quickened her pace, praying she wasn't too late. Back in his office, Maxwell was about to leave when his phone rang. The caller ID showed a number he didn't recognize. "Maxwell Reed," he answered. There was a pause, then a distorted voice spoke, "The meeting's a trap. They know you found the files." Maxwell froze. "Who is this?" "Someone who doesn't want to see you die today. There's a service elevator on the west side of the building. Be there in 5 minutes if you want to live." The line went dead. Maxwell stared at his phone, mind racing. It could be a trap, but his instincts told him otherwise. Whoever called knew about the files, and was trying to help. He grabbed his jacket and headed for the door, only to find 2 of Morales' security men waiting in the hallway. "Mr. Morales sent us to escort you to the meeting, Mr. Reed," one said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "He's eager to hear your presentation." Maxwell's blood ran cold. The meeting wasn't for another 50 minutes. Morales knew. "Of course," he said, forcing a casual tone. "Let me just grab my tablet." He stepped back into his office, closed the door, and locked it. There was a fire escape through his private bathroom, a route few knew existed. As he heard the men outside begin to pound on his door, Maxwell slipped through the bathroom and out onto the metal staircase. He had no way of knowing he was running toward the woman he believed was dead, or that their reunion would change everything. If you felt something watching this story, hit that like button and subscribe to see what happens next in stories that touch your heart. We'd love to know, what country are you watching from? Drop it in the comments below.